Have you ever woken up tired, even after sleeping? You know that weight that seems to live in your chest, the thoughts that spin endlessly, the fear that whispers that you won't make it? Today we're going to talk about how faith in God strengthens your mind and spirit, and why this might be exactly what you need to hear right now. There are people who believe in God, pray, go to church, but inside they're falling apart. Their minds have become a battlefield. Anxiety in the morning, insecurity in the afternoon, fear at night, and then comes that painful question: if I have faith, why do I still feel so empty? The truth is that many of us carry invisible battles. No one sees them, but they're there. Thoughts that accuse, memories that hurt, comparisons that destroy. The mind becomes the most dangerous place because it's where it all begins. It's where the war is fought before it even reaches the heart. But what if I told you that this same mind can become a place of spiritual victory in mental battles? That faith isn't just a pretty feeling, but a real power that transforms from the inside out. Because it's not about pretending everything is okay. It's about finding strength when all seems lost. The Bible says in 2 Corinthians 10:5, "We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ." See? Even thoughts can be captured. This means you don't have to be a slave to your own mind. And here's something few people talk about. Sometimes the fatigue you feel isn't just physical. It's spiritual. It's your soul crying out for help. And when we understand this, everything changes because we finally know where to look for true healing. But is it really possible to find peace in the midst of chaos? Do you know where faith grows most? It's not in comfort. It's in the storm. It's when you're at rock bottom, without strength, without answers, without a way out, and yet you whisper, "God, I trust in you." Let me tell you a story that can change the way you see your difficult times. Do you know Joseph, that young man who had big dreams given to him by God? Well, Joseph was betrayed by his own brothers. They threw him into an empty well, sold him into slavery. Imagine the pain, the confusion. God, it wasn't supposed to be this way. Years passed. Joseph ended up in the house of an official named Potiphar. He began rebuilding his life, worked hard, and was promoted. Everything seemed to be improving until Potiphar's wife lied about him. Joseph was thrown into prison, innocent, alone, forgotten. If you were him, what would you think? Where is God? Why is this happening to me? But here's the secret. Joseph didn't stop believing. In prison, he remained upright. He helped other prisoners. He interpreted dreams. And do you know what happened? Years later, Pharaoh had a dream no one could understand. Someone remembered Joseph. He was summoned, interpreted the dream, and in a single day, he left prison to become governor of Egypt, the second most powerful man in the ancient world. Joseph's faith didn't change circumstances quickly, but it changed Joseph in the midst of them. And when God acted, everything made sense. Every betrayal, every injustice, every tear, everything was preparing Joseph to save entire nations from famine, including his own family, those very brothers who betrayed him. So, when you're in your pit, remember, faith in God doesn't arise when everything is resolved. It arises when you choose to believe, even when nothing makes sense. It's the power of faith to overcome challenges that the world cannot explain. It is face fears with faith in God, knowing that He's writing a story bigger than your pain. Genesis 50:20 sums it up. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good. What if your battles are also preparing you for something you can't even imagine yet? There comes a time in life when you have to choose. Will you believe what you feel or what God says? Because pain screams loudly. Fear does too. But faith whispers, and yet it has more power. Have you ever had those days when reality seems like a giant wall in front of you? Bills to pay, broken relationships, frightening diagnoses, dreams crumbling. And your mind begins, you can't do it. It's too late. You're not strong enough. That's when the most important decision of your spiritual life comes into play. Why, how faith transforms the mind. It doesn't deny the pain, but it refuses to let the pain have the last word. Faith looks at the storm and says, I know that he who is with me is greater. It looks at the impossible and remembers, my God knows no limits. It is this spiritual strength in difficult times that changes everything. There's a huge difference between optimism and faith. Optimism says, it'll work out because I feel it will. Faith says, it'll work out because God is faithful, even if I don't understand how. Optimism depends on circumstances. Faith depends on God's character. That's why optimism crumbles at the first hurdle. But faith is strengthened precisely in the desert. Think about what happens when you choose to believe. Your mind begins to align with truth, not chaos. You stop drowning in what-ifs and start declaring, even if I don't see it, God is working. Even if it takes time, He doesn't fail. Even if it hurts, there is a purpose. This is faith as a source of emotional balance, not because it ignores reality, but because it sees beyond it. Hebrews 11:1 defines this perfectly. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. It's not blindness, it's spiritual vision. It's seeing what the natural eyes can't yet see. The question is, what is your faith declaring about your situation today? Now let's talk about something many people underestimate, but which has the power to transform invisible wars. Prayer. Not the mechanical, memorized kind, but the real, raw, vulnerable conversation with God, the power of prayer and faith, that they deal with dimensions that go beyond what you see. Do you know what happens when you pray? It's not just that God listens, He acts. But there's something even deeper. You also change. Prayer isn't a magical request to the universe. It's a connection with the one who created you, who knows exactly what you need, and who is more interested in transforming your heart than simply changing your circumstances. Have you ever noticed how after a sincere prayer you feel different? Even if nothing has changed on the outside, something has changed inside. Anxiety diminishes, clarity comes, a senseless peace takes over. This is emotional healing through faith happening in real time. It's God recalibrating your soul, reminding you of who He is and who you are in Him. Philippians 4:6-7 says, do not be anxious about anything but in everything, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. See, the peace that surpasses understanding, it doesn't make sense to logic, but it's real. Oh, and before I continue, let me make a quick request. If this message is touching your heart, subscribe to the channel and like it. This will help spread this message to more people who also need to hear it. And don't forget to share it with someone you know who needs it. Okay, thanks a lot. Coming back, prayer isn't just about asking, it's about venting, thanking, surrendering, trusting. It's about saying, Lord, I can't carry this alone anymore. And do you know what He says? Then leave it to me. I never asked you to carry it alone. Prayer is the bridge between your weakness and God's strength. So tell me, when was the last time you really opened your heart to God? There are times in life when you don't see anything changing, but you feel something is different inside you. It's inexplicable. It's almost as if a silent force is sustaining you. And that's exactly what's happening. God strengthens the spirit when you least expect it. You don't need immediate answers to feel God's presence. Sometimes the miracle isn't an instant solution. It's getting out of bed when everything told you to give up. It's smiling in the midst of pain. It's choosing to forgive when the hurt seemed greatest. That's the spirit strengthened by the presence of God, and it is more powerful than any external change. Isaiah 40:31 promises something incredible. But those who wait on the Lord will renew their strength. They will mount up on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. Note the order. Waiting comes before renewal. It's not passivity. It's active trust. It's saying, I'll keep going even if I don't see the results yet. Think about how many times you've wanted to give up, but something inside you said no. That breath that appeared out of nowhere, that peace that had no reason to exist, that advice that arrived at just the right time, that song that played and felt like God was speaking directly to you. These aren't coincidences. It's God working in the unseen, strengthening your spirit as He prepares the way. And you know what's most beautiful? God doesn't just strengthen the perfect, He strengthens the broken, those who have failed, those who are tired of trying. He takes your weakness and turns it into testimony. He uses your scars to heal others because His power is perfected in your fragility. 2 Corinthians 12:9 confirms, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." You don't have to be strong alone. You just need to be connected to the one who is the source of all strength. What if what you call weakness, God is calling opportunity? We live in a culture that glorifies haste, productivity, and never stopping. But do you know what one of the greatest miracles of faith is? Teaching your mind to rest, not out of laziness, but out of trust. It's their renewal of the mind through faith, happening in a practical way. A tired mind makes bad decisions. A stressed mind sees enemies where none exist. An anxious mind creates scenarios that will never happen. But a mind that rests in God, it can think clearly, see opportunities, and trust that everything is under control, even when it seems otherwise. Romans 12:2 says, "Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Renewing your mind isn't about thinking positively all the time. It's about aligning your thoughts with God's truth. It's about exchanging lies for promises, doubt for declarations, fear for faith. That's it, how to have a strong mind in God. You don't ignore your problems, but you refuse to let them dominate your heart. You hear the bad news, but remember the eternal promises. You feel the pressure, but choose to leave it in the hands of the one who can carry the weight for you. This is faith as a source of emotional balance, not by denying reality, but by placing reality in the context of divine sovereignty. And look how interesting. Jesus slept in a storm. While the disciples were panicking, He was resting. Why? Because He trusted the Father, because He knew who He was, because He understood that the noise of the storm didn't change God's plan. Matthew 8:26 records His response. "Why are you so afraid, you men of little faith?" Rest is not the absence of battle. It is the presence of peace in the midst of it. Is your mind working against you or resting with God? Let's be honest. Anxiety is one of the most real struggles of our time. That tightness in your chest, that fear of the future, those thoughts that keep you awake. And then someone comes along and says, "Just have faith," as if it were that simple. But the truth is deeper and more powerful. Overcoming anxiety with faith doesn't mean you'll never feel fear again. It means fear will no longer dictate your decisions. You feel it, you acknowledge it, but you don't obey it, because there's a greater voice whispering, "I am with you," and that voice has authority over everything else. The Bible records the phrase, "Fear not," 365 times, once for every day of the year. God knew you needed to hear it, every day. Because face fears with faith in God, it's a daily choice, sometimes hourly, sometimes minutely. It's saying, "I feel afraid, but I choose to trust." Isaiah 41:10 is an anchor for the anxious soul. "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my victorious right hand." Notice how many promises there are in this verse. Presence, identity, strength, help, support, victory. Everything your anxiety says you don't have, God promises you have in Him. And do you know what's liberating? You don't have to be strong all the time. You can have bad days. You can cry. You can feel like you can't handle it, but faith isn't in your ability, it's in God's character. He doesn't give up on you on your weak days. He comes closer. He sustains you when you can't walk alone. Anxiety screams that you will fail. Faith whispers that God does not fail, and in the end, it is faith that wins. Which voice is louder in your life today, anxiety or faith? Here's a truth that will set you free. God isn't looking for perfect people. He's looking for willing people. People who know they're weak but trust that He is strong. And it's precisely there, in that place of vulnerability, that true trust in God in moments of weakness is built. We're afraid to show weakness, afraid to fail, afraid that if people knew who we really are, they'd reject us. But God, He already knows you completely, every flaw, every fear, every secret thought, and yet He chooses you. He still calls you. He still uses you. He still loves you. The Apostle Peter is a perfect example. He was impulsive, said things without thinking, and denied Jesus 3 times in a single night. He failed at the most critical moment. Did God give up on him? No. Jesus restored Peter, entrusted him with the mission of caring for the church, and Peter became one of the pillars of Christianity. His weaknesses didn't disqualify him. They revealed his need for God, and that qualified him. It is in the fertile soil of weakness that true love happens. Christian spiritual growth, because when you stop trusting yourself, you finally begin to truly trust God. When you recognize your limits, you make room for the unlimited to act within you. Your weakness is not a flaw, it's a gateway to grace. 1 Corinthians 1:27 reveals God's method, but God chose what is foolish in the world to shame the wise, and God chose what is weak in the world to shame the strong. He doesn't just use the qualified. He qualifies those He uses, and often chooses the most unlikely. So stop hiding your weaknesses, surrender them to God, because it is there, in this act of surrender, that true trust is born. What are you trying to hide that God wants to turn into a testimony? There is a place of peace that few know. It's not the absence of problems, it's the presence of God in the midst of them. It's when your mind and heart finally align with divine purpose, and you discover that it may be stormy outside, but clear skies inside. This is spiritual wisdom and inner peace in action. Balance isn't about having everything under control. It's about trusting the one who does. It's not about understanding every step of the way. It's about holding tightly to the hand of the one who knows the destination. When you live with mind and heart guided by God, you stop reacting to every circumstance and start responding wisely. You stop being held hostage by emotions and start living anchored in truth. Proverbs 3:5-6 teaches, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your paths straight." Do you see the key? Lean not on your own understanding. It's the surrender of control. It's accepting that you don't have to have all the answers, because God does. This balance manifests itself in practical ways. You stop losing sleep over things you can't change. You stop carrying guilt that has already been forgiven. You stop fighting the doors God closed and start celebrating the ones He opened. You stop trying to prove your worth and rest in the fact that you are already loved, already chosen, already sufficient in Christ. And here's the beautiful paradox. The more you surrender, the freer you become. The more you trust, the less you worry. The more you rest in God, the stronger you become. Because strength isn't in you, it's in Him, and He is in you. John 14:27 brings a promise that changes everything. "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid." The peace of Christ does not depend on circumstances. It reigns above them. What if the balance you're looking for is closer than you think? We've reached the point I promised at the beginning, the final revelation. That secret that underpins everything we've discussed so far. Pay attention, because this could change the way you see your journey forever. The world looks at you and doesn't understand. How are you still standing after everything you've been through? How do you still smile? How do you still believe? And the answer is simple, yet profound. It's not because of you. It's because of the God who lives within you. That's the true power of faith to overcome challenges, not in your ability, but in His strength working through your surrender. Here's the secret. Faith doesn't free you from battles. It prepares you to overcome them. It doesn't remove storms. It teaches you to walk through them. It doesn't erase pain. It gives it purpose. Because every tear you shed before God, every knee bent in the early morning, every prayer whispered in desperation, none of it was in vain. It was all shaping you, strengthening you, preparing you to be a living testimony of what faith in God is capable of doing. Philippians 4:13 has taken on profound meaning after everything you've been through, hasn't it? I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. It's not about self-sufficiency. It's about total dependence. It's recognizing alone I can't do it, but with God all things are possible. And this is the strength the world doesn't understand, because the world measures strength by the absence of weakness. But God measures strength by the presence of faith in the midst of fragility. So let me reveal something to you that you may not yet have realized. You are already victorious. Not because you've won every battle, but because you've stood firm in them. Not because you've never fallen, but because you've always gotten up. Not because you're strong, but because you serve a God who is the very definition of strength, and He chose to make His home in you. Romans 8:37 declares about you, in all these things we are more than conquerors through Him who loved us, more than conquerors, not despite the struggles, but through them. Because every mental battle you fought, every fear you faced, every anxiety you surrendered, every tear you shed, it's all part of your story of victory. What now? Now you understand that how faith in God strengthens your mind and spirit. It's not theory. It's your reality. It's you today, still standing, still believing, still walking. You are living proof that God sustains, restores, strengthens, and transforms. From chaos to faith, from pain to strength, from despair to unshakable hope. So if you've made it this far, I want you to reflect on something. Which version of you is looking at this moment right now? Is it the person who started this video tired, full of doubts, feeling the weight of their mind and spirit? Or is it someone who remembered that they're not alone, that there's a God who strengthens, who restores, who never gives up on you? Apply this to your life in a practical way. When anxiety hits, instead of drowning in it, stop and pray, even if it's just a line. When negative thoughts arise, capture them, as the Bible teaches, and declare God's truth over your life. When you feel like you can't take it anymore, remember that strength doesn't have to come from you. It comes from Him. And look, I want to extend an invitation to you. Comment below which part of this video touched you most. Share it with someone who needs to hear this today. Subscribe to the channel to receive more content that will strengthen your faith and your spiritual journey. This isn't just a video. It's a chain of hope that can reach thousands of lives. How faith in God strengthens your mind and spirit. It's not just a concept, it's a path you've already begun to walk. And I can assure you, every step is worth it. Because in the end, you'll look back and see that God was there all along, sustaining, guiding, strengthening. And I end with this verse that I carry in my heart, and that I now leave as a promise to you. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or dismayed. For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Deuteronomy 31:6. You are not alone. You never have been. And this faith within you, it is the link between suffering and victory, between confusion and clarity, between weakness and eternal strength. May God bless your mind, strengthen your spirit, and keep you in peace today and always.